they should let the settlers stay? Fuck them. Get them out.
I don't think the settlers would stay. I think the settlers would immediately leave.
Well, the idea
Wait, why would they leave?
To get them out, they will be on the first flight away. Don't worry.
Bro, these religious Zionist people in the West Bank, they will fight to their last breath for Israel, dude. It's gonna be like the bloodiest fucking war ever. You have a bunch of fucking religious fanatics like Hamas fighting other religious fanatics like the settlers, okay? It will actually be a bloodbath because they'll actually fight to the last man. They will refuse to move, and Hamas will literally try to like do a new intifada fucking war into the West. Like it will actually be like a new holy war, literally.
Well, no, I'll tell you.
Why would they leave? What would
I'll tell you. Wait, I'll tell you. Let me tell you.
You're about to
Hold on, you asked me a question. Shut the fuck up. You asked me a question. Shut up. Thank you. Anyway, Wick, lover. Okay, the reason why they would leave, is because they don't want to live in a state that's certainly not even with the appearance of being co-equal with Palestinians, right? They want to live in that Jewish ethno state. That it's important to them that they have dominion over this land. And if that state, right, even in the kindest way, push back against them, it demolishes their project. So of course they want to leave.
Here's the problem: is Israel is a refugee state. These people came there because they
No, wait, stop. He can't get away with that.
Okay.
You realize the settlers in Gaza had to get dragged, kicking and screaming by the IDF to get them out of Gaza. And that was only 8,000 of them. So...
But
no,
in the hypothetical, hold on, Lonerbox. In the hypothetical, hold on, stop it. Lonerbox, in the hypothetical where Palestine becomes a state, gets arms, gets an army, gets a military, and they take over all of Israel, what is known as Israel right now, and it could become all of Palestine, the people would leave because they know what would happen next.
Gavite? Okay, see, most hated.
And you're directing this to Lonerbox so he can jerk you off?
Yeah. Also, I'll be in the Discord server active after I'm done editing, uploading, thumbnail making, showering.
You
no,
say it? Like,
I'm
what?
just correcting him in the
with
hypothetical here, right? And the reason I'm saying that they know what would happen next because we all understand what would happen.
The racist ones.
If Hamas,
the racist ones.
Hold on, no. If Hamas was in control of Palestine, do you not think that would happen?
Well, oh, now it's Hamas. Okay, so now
because Hamas is
Palestinian. Yeah, I know. Hold on. We have on the West Bank. Is Hamas in charge? Wait, correct me.
Hamas is the most popular there, and if Israel wasn't there, they would be.
Hamas in charge in the West Bank?
If the IDF wasn't there, they would be.
Can we have elections within this territory that had Gaza, who has had elections in over a decade? Can we do that? Why? Is any of these things a possibility?
What happens when the Gazans elect Hamas?
I meant to respond to that. I meant to.
Top left girl, yeah, and top left girl is also Israeli. She's crazy. Like, she's actually 1 in a million. Like, unironically, she's 1 in a million. Okay, and she's not like she's not the kind of girl who is 1 in a million, like in a good way. Okay, she is schizo crazy. Okay.
I meant to respond to that at the end of our debate before.
All
of us here would be in support of elections in Gaza. We should have elections in the West Bank too. Why have there not been? Hamas does not allow for it. Frankly, neither does Abbas allow for it in the West Bank. But this is
good thing we're not asking their permission.
This idea that it doesn't need to be Hamas because we can allow them to elect someone else. You would have to ask their permission if you allow the fucking Qassam brigades to be fully armed. You would have to ask their permission. How do you think this all happened?
I have a question. So last time there was an election before Hamas canceled them. The Bush administration, together with Condoleezza Rice, said that they didn't acknowledge Hamas's rightful victory in the elections. So let's say Hamas weren't. Let's say that elections are allowed and Hamas wins. You still wouldn't accept them winning, right?
No, of course not. Hamas.
Shut up, Wick. I'm not talking to you. So if you wouldn't accept them winning, what is the point of asking for an election if you're not actually willing to respect the results of an election?
I'll let you answer.
Who are you talking to? Because
who are you? I thought you were asking me, but no one knows who you're asking.
And he's saying that they need to have an election because they wouldn't necessarily choose Hamas.
I'm sorry, I was talking to you because you said that you all support an election in Gaza.
Yeah, no, Hamas obviously cannot be the ruling faction in
Gaza. Okay, so you support an election as long as the people that you don't want don't get elected.
Hold on, Katie, Katie. If Palestine became a thing, right, and all one, like they had a free and fair election across the state of Palestine from the river to the sea, and they elected Likud, would you be okay with that?
Wick,
Ooh, that is a good hypothetical. That is a good hypothetical. Fuck. Oh, shit. Okay, I wasn't even... Okay, fuck. Maybe Wick does have, like, 2 brain cells left.
The guy who thinks that if Palestine became a thing, Palestinians would genocide Israelis, okay?
I'm asking you a
I don't think you're equipped for this conversation. I'm going to be very honest.
I have demonstrated more knowledge and more understanding of the people than you have.
Bro, can you just imagine having another Palestinian election and Likud is one of the people, like one of the party? Oh my god, dude, that would
In
be
this entire
crazy
conversation.
cinema.
Absolutely. Your brain is
Are
fried
you
with
the guy
propaganda.
who kicked Viv for blood libel
Yes,
and then
because
did
she
a
was
Nazi salute on their stream?
about she
You're
was
that guy,
lying
right?
about
So
the
I don't
Israeli army
think you
killing
have
American
the adequate
journalists.
education for this conversation. Okay,
again,
Nazi
you
salute
don't
boy.
understand what you're
Let's
talking
relax.
about, and you have demonstrated that again and again and again. Answer my question. If Palestine became a state from the river to the sea, one person, one vote, and they decided to elect Likud,
You
would
do
you
not
accept that
respect your
result?
opinion on this topic. You are not
answer my
worthy of my
question.
time.
Well, that's a non-answer. Don't cop out. Come on.
No, no.
That's so fucking lame and weak. Just contend
That's
with
fine.
it.
I'm weak. Wick, if you want, kick me. I don't
I'm not
care.
kicking
You are
you, I'm
not
asking
worthy
you a
of my
question.
time on this topic.
Oh my god.
So,
what is
wait,
this, suicide by
Queen.
cop?
Wait.
Okay, is Katie some kind of like famous person or what? Like she's just like she just had a drama arc with Destiny. That's it, right? That's what she's known for. Like what the fuck?
If you wanna duck out of
Oh, you're not worth my time, Wick. Oh God. To be fair, okay, I totally as a professional Wick hater, okay, as a professional Wick hater, all right, I will say I endorse this statement, okay, all right, but it is kind of rich for Katie to say that, you know, it doesn't really make much sense to her. But yeah,
just duck out. Don't
Wait, I would come on. I would accept. No, I can do it.
I'm here for you.
Okay. I would accept if Likud end up being the winner in a free and fair election, like just like the United States, right? I think Trump is a fucking degenerate, but I accept that his presidency, as far as I know, there was any shenanigans in terms of.
Well, the problem is that Hamas would not like they wouldn't even have an election to have a fair result for anything. So it's like
our election process, and so he's the rightful his regime's the rightful ruler of this land. So whatever.
Why would you ever accept that? Because you know what would happen next if Likud was in charge. You know what would happen.
Yeah, hold on. Again, like actually contend. So you guys have been saying I've been contending with what you guys
Likud
have been
and
saying.
Hamas are not
But-
comparable, and like I just love when we pretend that.
Yeah,
they're
sure.
just
I mean,
absolutely not.
whatever. I
Speaking
mean,
their language.
That's true. Likud is doing a genocide and
speaking their
Hamas.
language.
Yeah,
okay.
they're actually doing the genocide. They're actually doing the ethnic
remotely
cleansing campaign. So sure, whatever, right? Like, and I've read you the genocidal statements from the actual party, right? But you can pretend that they don't feel this way, right? Then I guess it's just all an accident. But whatever, right? Moving past that. So
It's
like,
not even
so
feelings,
hon,
we can
hold on. But Wick is saying that like
again, the statements don't really matter, okay? Okay, they don't they do matter, okay? But like my point is you need to have the actions to prove that they are actually willing to do like actual genocide. Like they're willing to like mete out genocide, right? You can't just say, oh yeah, they want genocide, so they are literally committing genocide right now, right? You're gonna need a little bit more than that. Like, what can we see from other conflicts that show that they may be doing genocide, right? If we're talking about the Bosnian genocide, we're talking about stuff like tractors and stuff that is used to dig up mass graves, placed there months beforehand to show preemptive action. We have several decrees by Serbian generals, Yugoslavian generals who show deliberate command, like specific orders from the Serbian government, okay, at the time, that show like, hey, we're gonna on purpose create a state of terror in Srebrenica, okay. If we're talking about the if we're talking about the Rwandan genocide, we have the speed in which they carry out the genocide, right? The speed is extremely quick. It's extremely fast. If it was just natural, if it was just a natural massacre, it would be nowhere that fast. And not only that, they did genocidal rape, which is when you inflict women with STDs on purpose, and so then when they have kids, they die, right? Or they have deficient kids, which effectively breeds out the next generation, right? We have reports of women getting raped so hard to the point where they are unable to walk, all right, from men with STDs, okay? But yeah, you have multiple things that are different signs of actual genocide, but none of these are kind of displayed in this case, no? But yeah, I don't know. It's, yeah. I think they could make once they allow everyone to vote, even though it's the worst case scenario, there's South Africa. No. But then they would just like, I don't know about that one, dude. It's just like, why would you give Hamas any level of charity after recent events? Like, yeah, in my opinion, that just makes kind of no sense. Yeah.
Sorry, what was your last question, Luke? I do apologize. Wait, yeah, what was your last question? Sorry.
I'm just making sure I'm being addressed because apparently I'm not worthy of hosting my show. So, okay.
Sorry, Luke, it's fine.
So again, you believe right now that Likud's in charge and is doing a genocide, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. So why would you accept if they change the name to Palestine?
Oh yeah.
Why would you accept that? Why would you? You wouldn't.
Well, hold on.
If you actually believe that they're going to do a genocide, and they're doing a genocide currently, then you should not accept Likud being the free and fair elected people. You should be opposed to that, even if they were elected.
We didn't just
hold on.
The Nazis didn't get to just maintain power.
Those are two different things. Those are two different things, right? So I can accept the results of the election, but that doesn't mean I accept the action. Hold on, wait a second. Let me answer. Let me answer the question, Tali. I'm going to answer the question. 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 I'm going to answer the question.
Tali, let him answer. Come on, Tali, we got
I'm going to answer the question, Tali.
We'll get to you in a second, Tali, I promise.
I'm going to answer the question, Tali.
Go ahead,
knock it off. Thank you. Fuck. All right. Anyway, so accepting the results of election are different from accepting the actions of a state, right? So I can say that, like, one, I accept that Trump is our president. That doesn't mean that I don't fight, I don't advocate, I don't do everything I can to put pressure on the administration to not do the awful things that it's doing, right? Same thing with the coup. So if
are you placing pressure though? Are you going out there and protesting, Prime?
Within this hypothetical, I mean, this is nonsense hypothetical, but let's say if within this one state solution, that Likud becomes in power and then restarts the genocide, obviously I would say, hey, we have to recontinue our pressure on
I would
this
say
state.
overthrow them. I would say grab guns, go into the parliament.
No, I wouldn't do that because I'm not a neocon. No, I wouldn't do that because that doesn't work. No, actually, I wouldn't want to destabilize the area even more. We've already done that multiple times. It's crazy.
Prime, you are a neocon in Israel, though. You want to use international pressure and sanctions and like all these kinds of interventions to get the Israelis to move like in the direction you want to. Why are you such a neocon in Israel?
Putting pressure and extra pressure. That's nonsense. Yeah, the neoconservatives are the only ideology.
Really, who's the most adamant to sanction Iran? Who's the most adamant to sanction Iran?
World police officer.
Sanctions cut across the political spectrum. Right? I don't know why you're claiming this as only a neocon portion. Right? Was it neocons who wanted to sanction South Africa in the first place? No, it wasn't neocons who did that. What are you talking about? It's nonsense.
Okay, I want to make my point really quickly that I said that maybe people couldn't hear me because I was just talking over Prime. I'm so sorry about that. This just proves that you do not believe that there is a genocide happening in Gaza. If your response is, but the genocidal government that is conducting this genocide should be allowed to maintain power as long as that's the will.
One of the most frustrating things ever is that they literally don't care about actual genocides happening to Muslims outside of yeah, hold on. But so yeah, they don't really care about any other groups of Muslims who are essentially like being genocided or being killed outside of Israel, right? They don't care about the Uyghurs. They don't care about they don't care about the Bosniaks. Yeah, like they literally don't care about any other group of Muslims that are actually being genocided or have been genocided. But instead, they are more than happy to defend regimes and governments that are doing these things because they are just simply anti-America. That's why, right? For example, the reason why people defend, why the craziest of people might even defend the Serbs killing the Bosnian Muslims is because, well, they are more aligned with the USSR, and the USSR is anti-America, so therefore we have to defend them, right? With places like China, right, they are anti-American, right? So, like in Lefty's views, right, even though they love doing trade with each other, all right? and you have like workshop slavery and sweatshops and human rights violations and you have like all the Chinese military activities, right? Which is an entirely like new different kind of shit, right? That is just completely swept under the rug by lefties. So it oftentimes feels as though that lefties are just pro genocide. Like they are unironically more pro genocide than any liberal ever, okay? Because at least liberals are willing to talk about the Bosnian genocide, or they're willing to talk about the Uyghur genocide, right? Like fuck. Like they're it just simply doesn't really feel as though like lefties actually care about people who are being genocided, you know, which is very, very blackpilling, but
of the people in their
yeah.
country, and the population being genocided absolutely should not be ethnic.
And by the way, okay, there's like other genocides to talk about that you should be raising attention for, right? Some genocides just get completely swept under the rug, right? What's happening in Azerbaijan? I don't think enough people is talking about it, right? Right now, Azerbaijan may or may not be going under another ethnic cleansing, right? Like fuck, like that's super fucked up, right? But it's just yeah, like for example, Azerbaijan. I mean, they're Christians, okay? Like, fuck, even Christians can be genocided, okay? But Azerbaijan right now is undergoing, may or may not be undergoing, like, Christian ethnic cleansing. But yeah, nobody ever cares.
Cleansed from the
Oh, and I would even argue that Ukrainians are currently in the process of being genocided, right? Putin constantly talks about how the Ukrainian identity simply does not exist, right? And he is doing way more things than necessary, right? Like actual war crimes. You have chambers in which raped bodies are being disposed of, and like people who are literally raped to death, okay? You have the deliberate targeting of civilians, the attack on the most hardcore Christian Ukrainians on that one Sunday, and no other Christian from the United States ever gave a fuck about them. It just feels as, I don't know, it's just very blackpilling how like you have all these other things going on in the world, and nobody ever talks about them, and it's just like I just like think about like fuck, it's fucked up. But yeah.
region where there is war. They should not be rescued from the region that is.
Don't give white Christian more justification for a big. Well, there are some places in the world in which like Christians or Catholics or whatever are still being prosecuted. I'm not talking about people in the United States. People in the United States are really entitled pieces of shit. But like in Azerbaijan, yeah, they're absolutely being targeted.
War torn.
No,
that is how I know you don't believe there is a genocide. We would be reacting the way that we react to actual genocides, abolishing Nazi Germany, ensuring that the Nazi Party is not an eligible faction in the future politics of that region, and
Yeah,
going
I
in
completely
to
agree with
liberate and rescue the people who are being genocided. It just shows that you don't actually believe there's a genocide
I agree
happening.
with
If you
Tali.
do believe there's a genocide happening, then you are completely fucking heartless. That you're
To be fair, okay, the reason why the United States joined the war was because of Japan, okay? They didn't actually give a fuck about the Jews at first, okay? I really don't think the United States give a single flying fuck about the Jewish people at first, okay? Like living in Germany. All right, like they turned away boats of Jews to turn back to I mean, which again gives more justification for the establishing of Israel at the time, right? I mean, does that not give more justification for the establishing of Israel? Like, fuck me, dude. Like you have people who are literally not allowed to be in the United States, and then like they try to establish Israel, and you still have a problem with that. But you know, I mean, like I'm not. Listen, look. All right, Nakba bad. Okay, Nakba denial bad. Okay, yeah, I know, very brave takes. Okay, but like the fact that there's like Jewish Israelis in Israel right now, like fighting for Nakba recognition should tell you everything you need to know about free speech and everything you need to know about the differences between Israel and like Palestine, right? Or Gaza right now, right? I've read up on this, like Nakba denial in Israel, okay? And yeah, sure, there is a history of Nakba denial in Israel. Like the Day of Liberation is not really like the day of the or whatever, you know, et cetera, et cetera, is not really seen as like a grave event in which horrendous crimes have been committed, but as a chance of celebration for the establishment of Israel. It doesn't really recognize what has actually happened there, right? But you know, I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to deny that people in Israel have fought for the recognition of the Nakba. People who are Israeli Jewish people who wanted to fight for the acknowledgement of like a bad event, right?
We're willing to look past the genocide because, well, it's a democracy and those
fuck. I mean, there's probably a significant amount of Arab people, right? Not just Palestinians, who are willing to fight for the erasing of the Holocaust, okay? Or if anything, the encouragement of the Holocaust, okay? I'm just saying.
Moved into buying land that was lived on, and then they paid for the land and got the owners to evict.
I don't know what you're talking about, Loki. It's okay. All right, I know. Your brain is filled with anti-destiny, okay?
Tenant farmers, so that was always a bit more frustrating to the Palestinians. And then
no room for anything else.
They
okay?
brought in their presence, and it seemed that the locals who lived there were just not keen on having them there at all. The head of the Palestine National Congress was someone who believed in the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. The head of the Arab Higher Committee, Hajj al-Husseini, was a full-on Nazi, like he worked with Hitler. So there was an issue here where these Palestinians had one very just reason to be very angry about foreigners coming and settling their land with the intention of carving out a state. But then on the other hand, there was also an issue where the Zionists who arrived there were arriving there as refugees. The majority of Israel is people who arrived there as refugees or they're the descendants of refugees. It is a refugee country. And for them, they didn't really have anywhere else to go. So they're like, okay, fuck, we either have to build a state with this population that is seemingly quite hostile to us, or we have to try and take our chances and live under an Arab state.
What game is you playing, little bro? This is XCOM 2.
So obviously they chose the former, even though it was definitely antagonistic to the rights of the...
XCOM 2 with over 250 mods, okay? If you want to see the mods for yourself, go to my Discord server, okay? Go to announcements. My mod list is right there, and you will die a lot. All right.
The latter. And then the UN tries to resolve it with a partition plan. The Zionists actually say yes to that map. The Arab leaders and all the surrounding Arab countries say no, and we will fight against the implementation of this partition because they wanted all the land to be Arab. And then you had the 48 War. Obviously, the Zionists, they took advantage of the cover of war to get rid of quite a lot of the Palestinians. And famously, you know, even though it wasn't like the government's plan to expel them,
a magnanimous dispensation.
Lynn, thank you so much for the 10 gifted memberships. Holy fuck, dude. What made you do that? Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the 10. Guys, can everyone in chat please type W Lynn? Can we please get Lynn a W? W Lynn. Okay, W Lynn for the 10 gifted. Okay? Fuck. That's crazy. Thank you so much. That's a lot of money. I do appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah. All right, bro. I'm never getting a gifted stub. You can just buy one yourself. It's like $3. It's $3. Okay. But yeah, thank you so much, Lynn. Also, I just want to say, like, Lynn was one of my first viewers, actually. Like, from one of my oldest viewers. Sorry, not my first. One of my oldest viewers. Back then, when I first established my bridge with Tomfoolery, and Lynn was still part of Tomfoolery's chat. Yeah, that's how Lynn first discovered me. So Lynn is one of the very few people who still stick by me. Okay, so I do appreciate that. All right. I think that'll be Lynn and Akehead will probably be the two oldest people who stuck by me. Yeah. Like this entire time, basically, over the course of this entire time. Yeah, I appreciate that.
It was their policy to bar them from returning when they fled. So, and the result of that was that all the Jews in the Middle East and North Africa got blamed by their governments.
Honestly, I'm just going to say loyalty points, okay? Some people just be loyal, okay?
For those actions, for the failure of the Arabs to defeat the birth of Israel. And they faced either a shitload of persecution from their government, or they had this brand new state.
Now I got the title oldest viewers. I remember a time when I was the newbie and everyone called you Cat. Dude, Lynn, okay, listen, only you will remember. Literally only you will remember. But like, do you remember that time when it was like really late in the night and Yoon was on? And like Emma was on call trying to get me and Yoon to admit that we had feelings for one another. And then like it was like super awkward. And then eventually Yoon did actually admit that he had feelings for me. Dude, do you remember that? That was wild. Dude, that was like years ago. Like, oh my god, dude. Okay, listen, that is lost media. Okay, we don't talk about that. Okay, this is gonna be the only time in which I say that has happened. Okay, all right, but that was insane. Okay,
they were saying, hey, we're a Jewish majority, you will not get treated this way when you come here. So they all fled. Like basically 95+% of.
Please tell me this is archived. So are you kidding me? I deleted it a long time ago. Even I couldn't like retrieve it unless you ask YouTube to retrieve it. Okay. That shit is forbidden, okay? That shit is some forbidden content, okay? I would never get the end of like harassment from from haters if they ever dug it
Jews
up.
from all of these Arab and Muslim countries, within less than 10 years, they upped and left. They took the opportunity, the first chance they got to go to a Jewish majority state. The reason that Jews want a majority as an ethnicity is.
I mean, I will say, okay, like being a content creator, this entire journey of mine, has changed me as a person greatly. I think that the person that I was when I started and the person I am now is just two completely different people. Yeah, absolutely.
Because whenever they've been a minority for the entirety of their existence, they have been fucked. The only exception to this was like at the time was probably America, but America closed their doors in the mid-20s. So if you look at immigration to Israel, Palestine at the time, in 1925, it spikes. And that's because that's the same year as the Johnson-Reed Act, which put quotas on Jewish immigration. So Jews want to be a majority because they were basically told by the rest of the world that if you're a minority, there's a very strong chance we're going to fuck you.
Okay. Can I respond?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I very patiently listened to all of that. Appreciate Lonerbox. This is why I said just state your statement, because apparently you wanted me to say all of that. I wasn't going to say all of that. But like, I don't think I'm a 5-minute explanation. But
I guess we are finishing this.